It's great to be here. Wouldn't you agree? While many of us have physically gathered here in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, we have about 40% of our delegates online this year for our 135th annual meeting of the Holstein Association USA. That's the reality, a mixed in-person and virtual meeting, as COVID-19 isn't quite in our rear view mirror yet. Thank you to those fellow Holstein breeders in the electronic universe for being with us today. We hope your online experience goes well, and I look forward to seeing you in person as delegates next year when we gather July 27th to July 1, 2022 in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Why are we here? We are here because of our belief in the Holstein cow. We are here because our belief the Holstein cow is the world's most profitable cow, as it says on our logo up here, for maximum profit. Chances are high that a family member, a neighbor, friend, or mentor introduced you to the many positive qualities of the Holstein cow. I want each of you to take a moment. Give that some thought. Who was that person in your life? Two men were responsible for introducing me to the registered Holstein cow. One man is still walking this earth. The other man has gone to heaven. In the spring of 1971, Norman Cron took the time to leave his dairy, drive down the road, and have a discussion with then a 21-year-old young farmer long on his dairy dreams. Intrigued by this young man's energy and recent purchase of 3 registered Holstein cows at a neighbor's auction, Norman came over one morning and completed the Holstein Friesian Association USA membership for that 21-year-old neighbor known to others as Randy Geiger. That was the start of the Ran-Rose prefix, with the Rose being my mother, Rosalie. A membership certificate dated June 27th, 1971, arrived in Randy's Brillion, Wisconsin mailbox 1 month later. The very next year, a boy named Corey was born to Randy and Rosie, and the seeds were sown for me serving as your president. Who played the greatest role in my passion for Holsteins? The quick answer would be my father, Randy. However, Norman Cron really brought the bag of seed. He planted the first crop. Had it not been for Norman taking time up to sign my father for membership, who knows what would have happened on my life journey? Why tell this story? We, you and I, are the best advocates for the Holstein cow. Sure, we can turn over a budding young dairy prospect or somebody who just bought their first registered Holstein to our talented Holstein USA staff. However, that one-on-one connection between peers is priceless. Relationships matter. You and I are the breed's best promoters. I know some of us are the shy and introverted type. That's not you, Gordy. But share that lead with the staff if you're shy and may not want to do that. But at the same time, find out when they're going to visit that farmer. Take time to ride along maybe. Create a lasting impression with a potential new member. You can make all the difference. Norman made all the difference for my dad. Norman made all the difference for me. On Sunday, June 27th, that circa 1971 story will be 50 years old. Yes, my dad would have been a 50-year-old member at the close of this convention. 2 tough years have ensued since we last met in 2019. Who would have dreamed that we faced a milk being dumped due to a supply chain issue? Due to the lingering impacts of COVID-19, this year's convention certainly has a different look. The ballroom here has become Holstein's Grand Central Station. This week, it had served for the epicenter for all our junior activities. And today, it's our turn. I hope you enjoyed the New Look Candidate Forum and Delegate Breakfast this morning. We wanted to feature all of our impressive board candidates early in the day because voting on the next group of board leaders is the most important job here before the delegate body. I hope you agree with me in saying that this is a mighty, talented slate of candidates. I personally thank all of them for stepping forward and for their great and candid responses this morning. As tough as the last 2 years have been, this isn't the first time the association had to suspend its annual gathering. If we can get the next slide, please. As I discussed in the pages of the 2020 annual report that each of you have, both the 1943 and 1945 annual conventions were canceled due to another enemy, the German armies of Europe and the Japanese armies of Asia. Like those years, the association suspended elections and doubled down on the existing slate of directors and officers to complete core business functions. I want to commend CEO Meyer, if we can get the next picture, CEO Meyer, CFO Kasna, and the entire team for being steadfast this year to serve our members the best we could given the pandemic conditions. From March 2020 to this very day, CEO Meyer, Vice President Lamb, and I had an unprecedented number of conversations. We needed to rely on one another as a sounding board to work through the many hurdles that were coming to us. I want to personally thank John and Jonathan for the many candid conversations, and they were candid. You all face challenges too on your farms. You work through them. To be candid, and this is me speaking as board chair, Vermont was a tough place to run a business operations during the pandemic. On a scale of being open for business or being closed to COVID-19, Vermont was about as closed as one could get. When staffers left the region, the return to the Green Mountain State required a 2-week quarantine, and Vermont was following that pretty much to the letter of the decree. Even so, we made the calculated decision. At some point, you have to assume some risk in life. And we assumed the risk to hold an in-person board meeting in both November and March. We gave people and the directors the choice of whether to come or not, and if they didn't, we made sure we had every procedure in place to meet them electronically. It was one of the more unique meetings I'd ever run. It was a little bit unnerving for some of us. I personally experienced just how locked down the northeastern seaboard had become. I'm grateful for our November board meeting that CEO Meyer, CFO Kasna, and data and analytics and innovation scientist Jeffrey Bewley came to the meeting in person, as did the supermajority of our board of directors. I'm equally grateful for the remainder of the Holstein USA staff who met virtually and gave us a fallback plan to keep operations running should we have experienced a COVID-19 outbreak, because we were bringing people together, directors from all parts from coast to coast. I can't speak for anyone else. However, I can unequivocally say that those November and March board meetings were the most productive of my lifetime of any board that I served. People came to do business. We have a number of positive initiatives taking place. Even though physical movement may have been restricted by the pandemic, make no mistake, Holstein staff has been powering forward. Project Elevation, the $7 million complete computer rewrite, continues to move forward. Members should begin experiencing vastly improved interfaces, including advanced tag ordering systems and an improved registration experience. The entire project is being funded by the Holstein Association USA's Reserve Fund, which all of us have contributed over the years. As the information technology team rolls out better computing systems, classifiers in the field now have new handheld computers to better collect confirmation data. TriStar AMR, the AMR standing for automatic milk recording, continues to be the nation's only testing plan customized for robot dairies. And there's more than Holsteins just in that system now. When it comes to dairy record processing centers, Agrotech Analytics fully updated their computing system to Oracle 4th Dimension. For those of us on the farm, these enhancements mean our association can better serve us. Holstein Association USA continues to collaborate with others. We partner with the American Guernsey Association to conduct their classifications. Holstein software powers Brown Swiss, Guernsey, Milking Shorthorn, and Red and White registrations. We also have strong relationships with Allflex, and I know some of their staff are in the room here with us today, as are some team members from Zoetis. It helps us stay on the cutting edge of identification and genomics. Holstein's research grant, fueled by the Reserve Fund, moves research on Holsteins forward. And recently, launched the Holstein Marketplace provides members options to market their bulls. The Holstein cow and her genetics are in great demand. Evidence can be best seen in semen sales. I mean, we can make statements, but is there data to back up that statement? In 2020, 83% of all domestic dairy semen sales in the United States were Holstein. That's according to statistics from the National Association of Animal Breeders. Many of us simply know as the acronym NAAB. The international demand for Holsteins is even greater. 92% of the 29.3 million units of bovine semen sold by NAAB members were from Holsteins. I'll say that one more time. 92% of all exported bull semen from the United States last year came from Holstein sires. Despite what was reported in the May 28, 2021 edition of the Wall Street Journal, or what is said by those who continue to extol the virtues of crossbreeding, the Holstein breed has significant diversity. Genomics has helped us dig deeper into the genome than ever before. That diversity has helped the U.S. dairy industry essentially turn a freight train on a dime. Let's consider these two facts. In 2010, the national butterfat content for the milk supply, as measured by the Federal Milk Marketing Order System, was 3.66%. That number really hadn't changed for 40 years, but what has happened? Fat is back. Consumers are demanding healthy fats. What did each of you in this room and those online do to respond to that? In 2020, that same federal order data, this is based on about 92% of the US milk supply, the average US butterfat content is 3.95%. We went from 3.66 to 3.95% in one decade. It was both the genetic diversity and genetic power of the Holstein breed that propelled the movement in just one decade. Remember, 83% of all semen sold came from Holsteins last year. That's the super majority of the nation's dairy cows. To keep the eye on the prize, the best cow the world has ever known, we've updated the TPI formula to include feed efficiency. That trait, of course, measures the cow's ability to convert feed into milk. Due to the Holstein's sheer population size, we are the only breed in North America with direct measurements for this trait to define the buzzword sustainability for years to come. Indeed, if we are going to meet a goal of net zero by 2050 and push back on climate issues, the Holstein cow will be a major part of that equation. Our cows are long-lived. Congrats to Andy and Lynn Buttles for their cow Stonefront leader Hilda, who set the new lifetime record for the most milk produced by a Holstein. 460,000 pounds of milk, folks. That's enough milk in her lifetime to fill 6 semi-tankers. That's remarkable. The improvements the Holsteins have made in the udder are also incredible. The Holstein udders we take for granted today wasn't always the case. In a conversation with Ken Elliott, longtime superintendent of the show at World Dairy Expo, nowadays these cows are so darn good in the udder from top to bottom. Ken should know, he saw that transition at eye level as a superintendent of the world's greatest breed at the world's greatest dairy show, World Dairy Expo, for over 2 decades. To be clear, we have challenges. For those who want to breed elite, cutting-edge genetics, access to free-age genetics is fading fast. To stay elite, one may have to sign a deal with a major AI. Then there's a realization that one major AI center was just awarded a patent from the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office on a high genomic Holstein sire and a high genomic Jersey sire. While it appears in our early investigations that patent only covers first generation offspring, it's something we must monitor. This picture shown on the screen shows a very fruitful February 2020 board meeting in Washington, D.C. And yes, it's from over a year ago, but remember, we didn't meet last year as an association. This is where the association's directors and staff interacted in an unprecedented number of meetings with senators, representatives, and staff. Of course, those follow-up interactions were scuttled due to the health pandemic. We need to recapture that energy. We will recapture that energy. While the issues will change, the need for Holstein leaders to engage at the federal level is more important than ever. We must visit Capitol Hill more routinely, and we must know the people we need to talk to, whether they're the elected official or the staff member that serves them and knows our issues quite well. Transforming an organization to meet fast-paced demands of larger and larger farms will challenge us as an association. Consider this fact. In 2001, the average U.S. herd size was 120 cows. Just 20 years later, that number tripled to a whopping 300 based on USDA statistics. John Meyer has definitely assembled a team at Holstein USA to meet the membership needs, but it will take constant, never-ending adjustments. Change isn't an option. Change is a must. Some days I grow concerned that the team at Holstein Association USA may be too thin. Consider this, in 1991, we had 303 staffers. As more computing power came online, the staff shrunk to 173 by 2000. In 2010, we had 125 employees, and just right now, that number stands at 95. That makes the $7 million project elevation in our computing rewrite a critical job number one matter. We need to interface with today's tech-savvy farmers, all while keeping staff in place to meet customers on their farms. Remember, relationship matters. As I close, I'd like to have all the Holstein Association USA staff in this room stand up, as well as the board of directors, and remain standing. So the head table should all be standing. Our directors, our staff in the room, our staff back at the running the computers back there, Jody and Lindsay, Emily. I got good eyesight far. I just can't read a piece of paper anymore. Kelly standing. Thank you for your perseverance this year. The dedication you displayed to your fellow members and those you serve was remarkable. Thank you. There's one other group I'd like to recognize, and we will do that formally with a resolution later today. Would all the fine folks from Pennsylvania stand and remain standing, please? Reed, I know you're a delegate. Irene, I know you're a delegate. I know there's quite a few Pennsylvania folks here. Please stand and stay standing. Gordon, there you go. Stay standing, Pennsylvania. My wife and I had the opportunity to co-chair the 2019 National Convention with our friends from Wisconsin. Krista and I have had this discussion a number of times. It's centered on this question, a couple of them. What if we were Pennsylvania? What if we were Diane and Reed Hoover? What if we were David and Michelle Lenz? What if we were Irene and Jim Osborne? And there's many committees beyond that, but that's predominantly who I interfaced with on this journey. Diane, Reed, David, Michelle, Irene, and Jim. Thank you for your perseverance. Thank you for assembling a great team of convention planners. Thank you for showing us a great time and great cattle. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for this great convention. As we move through 2021 and into 2022, share your ideas with me. Share your ideas with Vice President Lamb. Share your ideas with CEO Meyer and CFO Kasna. Share your ideas with your fellow directors. I agree with Jimmy last night, Osborne, when he said, talk to your directors, and juniors should do that too. Introduce yourselves. Tell us what's on your mind. This year has proven one thing for sure. Together we can get through anything. Together we can build a stronger association, and together we can breed a better cow. It's been an honor and a privilege to serve you as your president. Thank you.